Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Trap on the Boomer Bust channel, a Bears podcast by a Bears fan. I'm your host, Terry, and thank you if you're subscribed. If you're not, click the subscribe button. Thumbs up no matter who you are. All of it helps grow the channel. Thank you so much. All right, so today we're going to talk about the depth chart. So I've been moving and grooving. A couple things I want to talk about, Bears, some non-Bears. But finally I'm home, so I get to, put an episode together. And one of the things that caught my eye was the Bears depth chart. So around this time every year, I like to look through the teams and see which ones put up depth charts. And it's completely different for each team. Some teams never put up the depth chart. Middle of the season is not even up. Some teams do it before the first preseason game. Some teams don't do it to the regular season. It's kind of all over the place. And they do it differently. Fortunately for us, the Bears put out an actual depth chart. For the first time this year, I've seen teams put out preseason depth charts with like who's going to be doing, the reps in the preseason with the starters are all like fourth or fifth. So I'd never really seen that before, but, again, thankfully we don't have that. And you could tell we have a starter one because the typical starters are starting, so. Anyway, go to the Chicago Bears team site, go to depth chart. You could look through it yourself if you haven't. So the first thing I want to point out that caught my eye was Byron Pringle. He's listed as a second string. And so I already know some people going, he's hurt, he's injured. Again, if it was an injury type thing, I don't think you put him at second string. I think you put him in the back. Or you just don't put them on there at all. Some teams use little notes, little, symbols. We don't have any of that. So, again, I'm going to take that at face value. One of the, things that the optimistic Bears fans that'll praise anything the Bears do. They cling on to, we have a good core. We have a good receiving core. You know how I feel about the receiving core. You know how I feel about the team. But some people are trying to spin it like we got good young players that can prove themselves on a cheap contract and blah, blah, blah. And look, I don't wish nothing bad on any of the players. I know Mooney. I have faith in them. The rest of them, not really. But I don't wish nothing bad on them. I want them to do well. It would be great for us to get a diamond in the rough. However, to me, the probability is not there. But one of the people that everybody's clinging to is Pringle. Oh my God, Pringle. Now he's got a chance for opportunities. And he's second team. So that's interesting to me. Things can change before the season. Obviously, when he's healthy, he can contribute when he gets on the field. I don't know how it's going to look. I'm not saying like this proves me right or anything. But first of all, I don't think the core is good. So to add to that, Pringle is second string. A lot of people had him as like their top dude. So I just think that is interesting to me. Going from there, we go to the offensive line, and we got Braxton Jones starting at left tackle, Tevin Jenkins second string on the right side, and Borum second string on the left side. So a couple things here. Number one, you got Riley Reef and Schofield, who came in right before camp at the starting position, which to some people might be a little shock, but, typically when you get some veterans who are career starters, like they are not necessarily career backups, they won't sign unless they are, competing for an opportunity to start. So that happens sometimes. That's not too shocking. But I would say that says a lot about what they thought about the O-line going into training camp, because you still had an off season to see everybody and to understand what they could add, and to bring these two in right before camp and then going into the first preseason game and had them starting. It says a lot, I think, about what we had. And I didn't know who the right guard would be. A lot of people had that question. And so Schofield slides in as a versatile guy, and right now is at that starting spot, which is cool. But then you got Riley Reef. And so, again, some people are going to pump up Braxton Jones, and I'm not trying to tear him down. I only can tell you what I saw as a prospect. And the reason I don't like to project into the career and future is because all these people are human beings. They're different. They can evolve differently. But all I can tell you is coming up as a prospect, what I saw And as I said before, you can go back and look at my review. I just didn't see him as somebody that can be a big-time starter. Potentially a quality starter, I don't know, but you look at his traits and what he has as a football player, and it just doesn't say that he can put it together to be like an all-pro or anything. So he might go out and get overwhelmed. He might go out and be solid. We will see. I mean, training camp's not the same as, regular season. So, again, I'm not rooting against anybody. It's just not something that I think is a good sign. Some people are going to say this is a great sign. To me, it's a bad sign. Not only because Braxton Jones is starting, that's not really the issue, but you got Borum as second string on the left side. Now, more than likely, he'll be a swing tackle, but to list him exclusively on the left side and to have Tevin Jenkins on the right side tells you a bunch of things. Number one, not only was Borum not good enough to get a starting spot, but Jenkins had to be so bad on the left side that they completely just kept him on the right side and had to keep Larry on the left side. And that just does not sound great to me, because Borum, I don't think, can be a starting left tackle in a normal passing system. And so it says a lot as far as where these people are. The starters, I mean, it's whatever. It's Riley Reef. It's whatever. These people aren't going to be the long-term guys. And so it just brings up a lot of questions for a group that already had a lot of questions. So we'll see how it ends up kind of working out. And I know there's a lot of reports about Tevin Jenkins being back and doing pretty well and things getting better. What are you going to say if you're trying to trade a guy? You're not going to be like, oh, he's back in camp and he sucks so bad. No, I think that's what they're supposed to say. I don't know if he's doing good or not, but that's what they're supposed to say. And I think it's still a real possibility he gets traded. So, yeah, that's that. So we go over to the defense. Not a whole lot, but we got Jalen Johnson starting. I know, again, there's a lot of talks about him running with twos. And our two rookies, Kyler Gordon and Jaquan Brisker, starting. Now, that's not always a given. One of the reasons I look at the depth chart is to see what the rookies are, because, it's coming right off the draft. And a lot of times, rookies you think are supposed to be in certain places are not. And so with our team not having a lot of talent and really stripping it down, it's not a huge surprise these two are starting, but it's nice to get that confirmation. But yeah, you look at the team, man, it's not great. It's absolutely not great. And I know, again, there's so many people that want to tell you it's great and that we're going to go to playoffs and all this stuff. And hey, anything's possible, but it's just not something I'm putting a lot of stock in. Robert Quinn, we know, but you think about it, Blackson, that's a backup. That's nobody's big time starter. Definitely not a full time starter. Justin Jones even was a rotational player. And D-line people will rotate, so I'm not saying that's crazy, but he's kind of a rotational player. And then Travis Gibson, we know, was one of our backups. So really, I mean, you got guys that were backups starting, and I mean, I don't know how anybody can sit here and say this roster is competitive. So we got that. Muhammad, people going crazy. He's second string. Mario Edwards, to me, should be in the interior, but overall, we know the D-line is nowhere near what it used to be, and that's probably one of the areas that's going to take the most work to build up. They got Roquan listed. We know there's a possibility he might get traded, and it's not looking good outside of him. These linebackers are not looking great outside of him. Not going to lie. Some definitely journeyman. And it's not like our linebacker core wasn't bad. We had injuries, unfortunately, and stuff like that. Roquan's always been solid, but around him, I mean, we had some good players in stretches, but he hasn't had a running mate that was actually, a top-level player. And this is a far cry from what we used to have even before that. So there's that. And like I said, the secondary is kind of what we already knew. So, yeah, the depth chart, like I said, is out. It's interesting. There's some special team stuff. Daz Newsome, nothing too crazy. Nothing too crazy. I don't know what. Maybe people see something different that I didn't see, but this is what we expected coming into camp with our roster. Nothing spectacular on the list, but a couple areas that I thought were interesting. So that's it for me. Go down to the comment section. Let me know what you think. Share it around. Get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe, and remember, stay up and bear down.